Okay, so I talked to Venerable Namgyal this morning because, it's a bit difficult because he has to teach also on Saturday. It's a bit difficult with the time difference, but because I was getting up for His Holiness, so then it was okay to call him. So he says hello to all his friends, especially Fred and Maya and Gila and the other Maya. I don't know if anybody is also here who knows him. I don't know if anybody is, not sure. Anyway, he says, please give him my love, and I missed him very much, and that he hopes to see you very, very soon. Yeah, so he's teaching.
We hope so too. We hope
so too. Yeah, exactly. So I will tell him. So, but he's well, he's in Australia and kind of doing his teaching online also, and so like that. He's teaching for the Viennese Center today.
When are you coming this way?
Huh? When am I coming to India?
When are you coming this way?
Which way? What? Your way to India?
For a visit?
Well, you see, we have here the group. I don't know if it's going to collapse or not. So if the group collapses, I can come pretty soon, as soon as they open. So, but if they don't collapse, then I'll stay another year.
Oh, what do you want me to do?
So we can't hope for them to collapse, is it? That wouldn't be very kind. We'll see. But
we have next door a beautiful apartment waiting for.
Yeah, I know. Okay, Gidi.
Yeah, short.
The stage is yours.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. And
you can speak in Hebrew.
Okay, אני אדבר בעברית. If someone doesn't know Hebrew, then...
Well, they're all Hebrew speakers.
Everybody here speaks Hebrew, okay. אז מאוד כיף להיות עם אני לוסנג בשבת וסוכות, זה תחליף הכי קרוב למסורת שיש לנו בחגים, לאירוח של אני לוסנג שמגיע לארץ כבר קרוב ל-20 שנה, אז זה באמת הזדמנות נפלאה, ובתקופה הקשה הזאת לשמוע את הדרמה. השיעור הזה הוא חלק רצף של שיעורים וסדנאות שאני לוסנג מעבירה בתקופה הזאת, כל הפרטים נמצאים באתר של ידידי הדרמה, יש לאני לוסנג גם שיעור כל יום רביעי בערב, שיעור פנטסטי, אני יכול להגיד באופן אישי שזה מסובך ובתוך העניינים ושבוע ועבודה וכולי, ואיכשהו פעם אחת נכנסתי ומאז אני ממש לא יכול לוותר על זה, אז אני מאוד מאוד ממליץ בימי רביעי ב8 בערב, גם כן הלינק נמצא באתר של ידידי הדרמה. יש עוד המון פעילויות של עוד הרבה מאוד מורים שעוד התקיימו ושהתקיימו, וכל השיעורים האלה מוקלטים, אגב עולה לסוף שבוע הזה, שכבר כל השיעורים אתמול נמצאים בערוץ היוטיוב של ידידי הדרמה, אז מי שפספס או פספסה או מי שרוצה לתרגל או לחזור על המדיטציות הנהדרות, אז זה אפשרי. שמתי בתוך הצ'אט את הכישורים לאתר של ידידי הדרמה ולערוץ היוטיוב. שני דברים נוספים, אחד, אם זה אפשרי ואם זה נוח, אז אנחנו מבקשים להיות עם מצלמה, ואז יש לנו יותר תחושה של קהילה ויותר תחושה, אני חושב, קצת יותר נעימה. כמובן, אם זה בלתי אפשרי, אז זה בסדר גמור, להיות עם הריבוע השחור. ודבר אחרון, דנה, נדבר על זה אולי קצת יותר בהרחבה בהמשך היום, אבל אני כבר אומר למי שאולי לא יכולים להישאר, הפעילות הזאת, כמו כל יתר הפעילויות של ידידי הדרמה, נעשית בלי שום מחיר מבוקש, בלי שום תשלום מבוקש אפילו. המורה הנפלאה מציעה את הזמן והידע והחוכמה שלה בלי לבקש תמורה, וזאת הזדמנות בשבילנו לתרגל את הנדיבות ולתת בתמורה משהו. קודם כל, כדי לאפשר את ההמשך של הפעילויות האלה, שבכל זאת עולה כסף, גם אם אנחנו לא צריכים לזכור מקום, וכמובן כדי לתמוך במורה שלנו, שהיא נזירה והיא גם צריכה להתקיים. אז אחרי שאנחנו מכסים את ההוצאות, כל מה שאתם ואני גם, אני בדיוק כמוכם, נתרום, עובר למורה. אז יש לינק גם כן בצ'אט שם, לתרומה בפייפל, מי שיכול, tiny URL, דנה לוסנג, יש גם פרטים של חשבון בנק להעברה, ויש עוד דרכים לתרום, אם אתם רוצים גם באתר של ידידי הדרמה. אז תודה רבה לכולם, thank you so much, אנילה, waiting for this day.
You're very welcome.
It's ray of sunshine, you know, every year it's, you know, we think, maybe we can go, you know, USA, you can go to the beach, you can go to Sinai, and you come to the Lamrim. And this year, you're a rescue. I mean, we don't have anything we can do. So it's so much, brings so much joy that there's something wholesome that we can do.
Nice, thank you.
So thank you.
Here is rainy and storming. We had like floods last night, not here in Bern, but other places. Here's really autumn. But you know, coming to Israel every year, like I missed the autumn, like almost 20 years now. And now being here, I really see how I appreciate it, because it's this kind of gentle easing into winter. Whereas if I come from Israel and I come back here in November, it's already winter. So that's always a bit abrupt. And autumn, I think, is a really, if you know, autumn in Europe is a beautiful time of the year, because the leaves are getting colored and it's getting a little bit darker, and the skies sometimes are really dark blue. So it's really beautiful. And also if the weather is not good, because you see the changing, like the leaves are starting to fall, and they're going rotten on the ground, and that is very good to see. So thanks to the coronavirus, I can enjoy the autumn in Europe. So, and as you say, Gidi, you know, still have contact with all of you. So yeah, nothing is permanent, exactly. So this, especially in autumn, and not just that, because also in order for things to transform, autumn is very rich here on, you know, the grapes and the pumpkins and the apples and the pears. Like the natural fruits who grow here, they're all ripe in autumn. So there we also see, if things don't change, nothing can ripen. So, you know, if we only want to have things in one way, then nothing will change, nothing will transform. So it's a very beautiful time of the year, I think. Okay, so shall we start with some awareness training again? Because again, as Nachum said yesterday, and as the Buddha says, and as we might have understood ourselves already, if we do not have a mind that is trained in awareness, we will not be able to have ethical conduct. Without ethical conduct, we will not be able to have this deep concentration that then explores emptiness. And then we'll kind of get used to or understand what His Holiness was talking about again this morning about emptiness. Like he also said, he said, if you don't really understand that this I or this me that seems to be so real and so present and is producing all the unhelpful emotions, if you don't understand that this one does not exist, then things will not transform. But if we start to understand, even if it's an intellectual understanding, after you have heard it a few times from qualified people like Geshe-ma, His Holiness Dalai Lama, and Geshe Dorje Damdul, and all these people, if you have heard it from qualified people, at the beginning, it might sound a bit like, oh, I don't understand this. Or, you know, the ego gets so tight and so confused because we have this arrogance thinking that somebody just has to explain to me and then I understand. This is what we have. I mean, I have, most of us maybe have. And then we get all tight and we kind of reject the whole thing. But if you are patient, and again, His Holiness said this morning, it takes a long time to understand this. So you just have to be patient and keep at it and keep hearing it from qualified people. Maybe not so much reading it, but really hearing it from qualified people again and again and again and again. And at one point, it will start to make sense, you know. At one point, maybe then you'll think, they're always saying the same things. But then hearing the same things again and again and again and again, because you have become familiar with it, it will make you happy. And your understanding will still be intellectual, but that's better than nothing. And you can always go back to that fact. Whatever feels so hurt now, whatever feels so angry now, whatever is so upset now, and with awareness, you go into that feeling, the sensation of me, I, that seems to be sitting either in the chest or in your stomach, sometimes in your throat, already that, you go like, how can that be? How can it be sometimes here and sometimes here and sometimes here? So, and you start to examine it and you start to challenge it. Okay, show me your face. Who are you? What are you? How do you exist? Are you the body? Are you the mind? What are you? And if you start to examine it like this, it loses its power over you, and so it's the key to everything. It's the key to happiness. It's so important. But again, in order to be able to understand the absence of this very strong, inherently existing I, we need to have a mind state that is quite calm. So we have moments where this I is not present. Yeah, so we start to understand, oh, I can actually exist without this strong feeling of I. And also we start to understand, oh, I feel much better when it's not there. Yeah, so then you can bring all these things together. And then, then it will take a long time until we are having a direct experience of absence of inherent existence. But I think it's really important and it's really worthwhile that you start to listen to these teachings and you put your mind, kind of try to, just with a relaxed mind, just listen to it. And if you don't understand immediately, then okay, you don't understand, but that's okay. And then by listening again and again and again, it will come. And for that, in order to be able to explore what is being said when they talk about a non-existing, autonomous, permanent, partless I or me, then it's good to have a mind that is able to pick the object and then stay on it. So you need kind of two things when you do these practices. Unless you're really, really experienced and you can just open up and you just watch the nature of your mind or something like this, that's fine. When you just let everything arise. But because when you're not trained, your mind kind of just pulls along with everything that comes up. So it's really good that at the beginning, if you can, to choose an object. As Mingyu Rinpoche says, I don't know if anybody has seen this very short video of Mingyu Rinpoche when he explains the monkey, blah, 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 blah. And then I have it on the computer. I might be able to, if, maybe in the break, I'll try to find it and then I'll show it to you. It's very short. It's very, like you can meditate anywhere where you are, but you need to give the mind a job. Unless your mind is well trained, like a dog, that you don't need a leash to hold the dog, and you just say sit, and the dog will sit very quietly, and then you watch the nature of your mind, because that's the point. The point is not for you to really get to know your breath inside out or anything like this. The point, this is just a training when you take your breath as the object, so that the mind calms down. And then when the mind is calm, then you start to open up, and then you start to look at things, because the purpose of all this is to understand the nature of your mind. It's not to understand other people's mind. It's not to understand outside kind of phenomena or outside objects. It is to understand the nature of our mind. And in the West, what we have done so much research, and we have had so much progress, but only with outside things. Yeah. And now slowly, the people are neuroscience is starting to look at how the mind works. Yesterday I watched the Swiss news, and I saw a very interesting thing also. They have an exhibition about how our senses trick us. Like illusions. You think it's true, it appears totally real. So what they did, they gave a guy some kind of 3D glasses that he sees the world upside down. And he had to wear this like a whole week. So at the beginning, he's very insecure, like he needs to be led, and he's trying to put a pen into the, the cover of the pen. He doesn't succeed. He has to draw like rounds, and then he has to draw lines to combine these little dots. Yeah, he doesn't succeed. But at the end of the week, he goes like, dung, 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 yeah, and he can walk alone. And then when he takes off the glasses at the end of the week, he can't walk anymore without the glasses, because his senses have gotten so used to it, to see the world upside down, and to the body and the brain especially to react as if the world is upside down, to reach out in the right spot as if it would be upside down. And then you take off, it only takes a week. Can you imagine? It takes a week for the brain to adjust. Okay, he was young. I mean, he was not old, but still. So this neuroplasticity is really good to know, and to listen to these scientists also from time to time, so that we're not going, oh, I'm old, I can't change anymore and all this. The brain is so clever. I mean, humankind, also they do a lot of damage, I do admit, but humankind can adapt so quickly because of this capacity of our brain. And His Holiness, again, also this morning when he started, he said, you can think, you can figure things out. So please use your brain in the right way. Yeah. So, and don't trust everything that you see. Don't trust everything that you think. Examine it. This is it. This is why we have the brain for, so we can examine. And for that, we need, in order to examine properly, we need to train awareness, not just to be calm and open, but in order to then to be able to understand the nature of our mind. The moment we start to understand the nature of our mind, we will also understand all phenomena. So this is Nagarjuna who says, if you know your mind, you know the whole world. So that's good to know. Yeah. Okay. So then try to sit with a straight back, but in a relaxed way, like at ease. Try to sit at ease, but not what we think at ease usually. We think at ease like lying down and a bit like this, but with a straight back, full of self-confidence, fearless, not proud, not arrogant, but kind of relaxed, fearless, self-confident, awake. Try to imitate that with your body, like as if, nothing to do, everything accomplished, you have arrived. You can use what Leora Price is doing, like taking a few deep breaths, breathing out through your mouth, and letting go of all tensions like this. That's one method. You can use thoughts, putting yourself in a situation where also we have this, in that situation, we totally let go, we relax. For me, it's like when my suitcase goes on the conveyor belt in the airport, when I walk off the check-in with my boarding pass. And for some people, it's especially if you're body oriented, or you do yoga, is to connect with your body also. So whatever works for you, then use that. This is very subjective. So if you use your body, then you can use your breath. And a quick way is to imagine that you're breathing with your whole body. Another way would be to go through certain areas of your body. And as you breathe in, you are fully there in that area with that body part. As you breathe out, you imagine opening up down to the smallest cells, like little flowers opening in the sun. So I'll let you try out these methods, and then you stick to that one that works for you. For the body, is really important that you put attention on your face. That's the place we are holding small tensions and we don't notice. Around and behind your eyes, your cheeks, and your jaws. So you don't need to move. You will find the tensions, you will notice. The moment you notice it, you relax that muscle. This is what awareness is doing. The moment we know, we can let go. It's worthwhile to spend time on this to make sure that your body and your mind is relaxed. And especially your body, because if that one is not relaxed, the mind can also not relax. If the mind is not relaxed, it will not become stable. If it is not stable, it will not become clear. So also in case you feel like you're getting nervous because you have to sit still, don't force yourself to sit still. Move, but move mindfully. Or make a decision, okay, just 3 more seconds before I move. And if you move, then just know that you are moving. Because as we said, meditation is all about knowing, about awareness, knowing what's going on. And then I think, especially for the people who are a little bit nervous, if you are a beginner, you're not used to sit. I think it's quite helpful, actually, not to have an object, but just to get used to the fact that you can sit without having to do anything. Because if we immediately put the awareness on your breath, again, we're doing something. We're achieving something. We're accomplishing something. But if you're used to do meditation, then of course you choose your object, consciously knowing the object, and then very important, holding it. So you make a decision or you choose not to follow your thoughts. Sounds very easy. It is not. So don't underestimate the task. And when you feel that you're going into thoughts, just bring your mind back to your object. And from time to time, really check, is my body relaxed? Because the moment it is relaxed, it can sit still. It enjoys sitting still. It's a training. But not good to force anything. Yes, to make some effort to sit still, but not to force, but to relax. Never ever try to control yourself or to pull yourself together. Is no good. Learn to relax, learn to open up. So our thoughts naturally arise. Simply notice them briefly and choose to let them go without any judgment, without any frustration. No need to figure out the future. We can't anyway. And no need to kind of spend time in the past. Happiness is in the present, nowhere else. And happiness is in a mind that is totally relaxed but awake. So whatever arises, kind of watch it, be aware of it. Don't reject it, don't be attached to it. Maybe as if in a relaxed way, you are kind of watching an aquarium with fishes that are swimming around. They're not your fish, so you're not too interested in them. You don't want to interfere with them. You're just watching them. If you get totally lost in thought, then really find your breath, either at the tip of your nose or rising and falling of your abdomen. And then you need to put some effort to keep the mind there. But try to do it playfully, joyfully, as if you're making an experiment. You know, don't become dead serious about this. There's no point. Then again, you get tense and tight. Then it's always good, as they say, to set an intention. It seems to be goal oriented, but it's not. It's just knowing where we want to go, or, you know, giving life some kind of purpose, giving the meditation a purpose. So if we're talking about the four immeasurables, then we want to generate this wish. May I be able to develop equanimity, love, compassion, and joy. But then again, you know, a deeper reason why, because I see if I'm kind of torn between aversion and attachment, if I'm angry, sometimes even if I'm cruel, or if I'm totally joyless and depressed, this is not the kind of mind states I want to have to spend my life. To really see that this is not what I want. I don't want to be an angry person. I don't want to be a cruel person. And then, very important, the promise that you make to yourself. Okay, I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be cruel, but I am angry and cruel and attached and averse and depressed sometimes. So I am making myself a promise to be very friendly and very gentle with myself when I see that I'm falling into these states. I'm not going to push. I'm not going to judge myself. With love and with compassion for myself, I will start to understand that these other states of mind are not helpful. So for whatever you do, for the meditation, the reflection, the studying, always bring friendliness into the whole thing. We very often forget. We want to be friendly with all people around us, and then we're not friendly with ourselves. And friendly with ourselves doesn't mean we become lazy and we're not doing anything and we're just eating ice cream the whole day. That's not true. Maybe the first day, but you'll stop very, very quickly. Again, try to detect that feeling when I say bring friendliness into the meditation. Can you feel something? Can you experience something? It's important. We know how it feels to be friendly towards others. Do we know how to be friendly towards ourselves? Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to show you something which is not Buddhism. And also, for those people who are kind of, I don't know if it is really from the Upanishad. I don't even know what the Upanishad are. But I found it very, very helpful because yesterday we talked about love. So, and I only had the text in German, so it was a bit difficult to translate it. So, because in German it makes a lot of sense. The words really kind of speak to me because German is a very exact language. So maybe it would be good to translate it into Hebrew also, because what people explain to me sometimes when they translate the English word into Hebrew, then also the word says actually what it is. It already has the definition inside. So for those who speak German, I put both. Like German is red, and English is black. It has nothing to do with, German is better than English. I just chose these two colors. And it's so true, usually these things that are at the left side, they're good things. It's good to have a sense of duty. It's good to have a sense of responsibility. It's good to be just. It's good to be true. It's good to be educated and so on. But if love in there, if that friendly, soft, tender feeling is missing, then it goes sour, the whole thing. So we just look at them and you can see whether you find it helpful or not. Again, like with everything in Buddhism, you don't find it helpful, you don't use it, and that's it. So duty without love makes you grumpy because you have a feeling as if you have to do it. You're not doing it anymore like voluntarily. So I'm doing this voluntarily. I want to do this. Bring that to things, especially when they are difficult. Don't do things out of this sense of heavy duty because you will get verdriesslich. It's like, it means kind of no joy. Yeah, verdrossen is no joy. Then responsibility without love makes ruthless. Ruthless for others that you don't feel responsible for. Justice. Justice without love makes hard. So I don't know if hard is a good word in English, but it makes kind of, when this is just and you don't see what this kind of justice is doing to others also. Yeah, we become very ruthless almost also. Then truth without love makes addicted to criticize. Kritiksüchtig, again, is a very good word. Yeah, thank you very much. Somebody's writing a chat. I see what it is. So you're always welcome to write chats. Harsh. Okay, yeah, harsh maybe is a better word than hard. Thank you. Great. Then this one, I own the truth. Gosh, so much suffering is about because I have the truth, and whatever you think is not true. I'll show you another picture later on. So truth without love makes addicted to criticize. For somebody who has another truth, there's so many truths in this world. Nothing is really true except for emptiness, and that doesn't have any function. So then we don't need to be so attached to my truth. You know, when we go like, but this is really true. So just for you, it's true. That's it. Then education without love makes dodgy. Dodgy also, I'm not so sure. Gerissen means, you know, you're able to cheat others and they don't even notice it. That is gerissen. Then friendliness without love makes hypocritical. That works. Heuchlerisch. Or this one is for me here, being Swiss. Order without love makes pedantic, fussy. And it's kleinlich. Kleinlich means, you know, you concentrate on a small thing. You don't see the greater good anymore, but you can get so upset about small thing. This is me. And when I saw this, I tell you, it really started changing me. So this is why I like this kind of thing. Then expertise without love makes self-opinionated, bossy, or dogmatic. Rechthaberisch. Rechthaberisch is like, it's kind of righteous, but I don't think righteous would work. Like, I am right and you were wrong. Then power without love makes violent or aggressive, gewalttätig. Then honor without love makes arrogant, hochmütig. Then possession without love makes miserly or stingy, geizig. And faith without love makes fanatic. That's true, isn't it? So this is why it's so important you bring this feeling of friendliness into it. So let me see if I find a picture so that then we can start to discuss it, because it has to do with emptiness also. Oh, here, oops, sorry. Sometimes I'm not very good to find things. You probably can't see it yet, huh? So, oh, I lost the zoom. Petty, kleinlich. Thank you very much, Talia. Where is it? Gosh, I can't find it. Oh, here. Now you can see it, but I make it a little bit bigger if that thing goes away here. Oh. Can you see the picture?
Yes.
Yes, no?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what is it really? Is it a 6 or is it a 9?
It's about.
Sorry?
It's about.
It's
a question of point of view.
Sorry, no. Now you just contradicted yourself, because first you said it's both.
Yes.
Then you said it depends on the point of view. So if it depends on the point of view, it cannot be both.
No, it's not the same one that say. I say it's both.
But it's not. If it's truly both, a 6 can, if a 6 is truly a 6, it can never be a 9. But it looks as if it can be both. This is what it is. You see, this is why we have all these conflicts, because we don't see that there can also be another opinion. Yeah. So it's neither a 6 nor a 9. It is an imputed or labeled 6 or 9, depending, as you rightly say, on the point of view. But so this is very simple to understand, isn't it? But when we are, when it goes about views and about opinions and about religions and about, I don't know what points, then we don't see that there can also be another point of view, or that there can also be another side. So, so this is really good to know when you have a conflict with somebody, to listen what the other person says, and then to think, okay, I don't have the same view. I don't have to adapt the same view. So, but my view is not better than his or her view. It is just different. And this is what, I'm not talking about big conflicts and wars like this, okay? I'm talking about conflicts with neighbors. They have a view, you have a view, and both of these views are as we, you know, was it Dalit who said both? I didn't recognize the voice. Yeah, so somebody said both, and then it depends on your point of view. Whoever said that, it's totally true. It depends on the point of view. Then it becomes a 6, and then it becomes a 9. Do you understand what I'm saying? We can really start to bring it into small conflicts first and then see what happens. Okay, so now we are going to compassion. And again, you know, whatever you want to put in the chat, you are very welcome. You can give me your opinion if I have time, and if I don't get too distracted, then I will kind of tend to it. So compassion, I'll read out the definition first. The definition is wanting others to be free from suffering. Just that, you know, not even doing anything. Compassion is the wish, a mental state for others to be free from suffering. This compassion happens when one feels sorry with somebody. Sorry, maybe not such a good word. When one feels how the other person feels, and then comes an urge to help. And this urge gives you energy, and then if you can do something, you reach out or you do something. So the near enemy, what it looks like, is pity, which keeps others at distance and does not have an urge to help. We look, maybe we feel bad, that's true, but then we go like, ooh, you know, actually none of my business. Or you don't feel with the person. Now again, in German, we have 2 words. One is Mitgefühl and one is Mitleid. And they really explain the whole thing really well. Maybe you have it in Hebrew also, I don't know. Do you have 2 words also for compassion? Because Mitleid, the first one, the second one I mentioned, Mitleid means I suffer with you. Mitgefühl means more like empathy. I feel, I understand your feelings. Okay, so it's totally different. Mitgefühl and Mitleid, sometimes it's used in the same kind of sense, but it doesn't say the same thing. Do you have something like this in Hebrew where you can make a distinction between the two?
Yes, we have.
You have, okay. We have 2 different words for compassion and for pityness. Good. Yeah, empathy and sympathy. Yeah, sympathy is like kind of, you know, empathy, you really, you feel what the other person feels. You understand, not so much you feel, but you understand what the other person feels, okay? And you're able to communicate that you understand what the person feels. You might have an urge to make it better, but not at all costs. That's empathy. You are able to stay with the person without you kind of, you know, the mirror neurons, like very often, has it ever happened to you? Like when I broke my wrist, okay? And then people see that you have a broken wrist. I've never heard people tell me about their broken bones like so many times. Yeah. Has it ever happened to you that you know, somebody asks you, how are you? And then you say, oh, you know, I went to the doctor and then they found this and this and this and this. And sometimes you can't even finish. They already tell you what's going on with them. And I tell you one thing, we are doing exactly the same thing to others also. We're the same, you know? So it's really good to check, why am I doing this? Why am I telling the other person what I suffer from or what I suffered from? Now, if you're doing this, but consciously, again, here awareness comes in, because very often we think we're doing something out of compassion, but then when we look beyond, it's not. So we just also want to be important and show them that, oh, look, I also suffer. But for example, with broken bones, because from my experience, it hurts for a long time. And it doesn't, you know, the pain doesn't heal so fast. So I got quite desperate after 6 months, thinking like, oh gosh, you know, this will never heal, until somebody told me, oof, it took me a year until the pain was gone. And that calmed me down. Yeah. So if it's out of that, if it's a conscious decision, I'm going to tell that person about my suffering to calm them down and to say, okay, yeah, it lasts a long time, but you need to speak from experience and you need to speak from your heart so that the person feels you actually feel for them. Yeah. And not so that you become more important because you also suffer. You know, with this whole thing, or when we try to calm people down, when we say, well, at least, you know, it's not that. I tell you, I have friends of mine who are quite rich and they have two houses, like one is near a lake. And what happened this week, somebody broke the shutters, somebody broke the window, put in the hose and filled the whole house with, the whole floor with water. Now, I don't know, for whatever reason, you know, if somebody goes and steals something, I can understand they want something. But just to fill somebody's house, maybe out of jealousy, maybe out of, you know, these left wing, very militant, violent kind of anarchists who think that people shouldn't have two houses. I don't know what the reason is behind this, but they take it very calmly, I have to say. Can you imagine? You come home and your whole floor is filled with like that much water. Yeah. So then to have compassion for people who do this by understanding, well, something that they're definitely unhappy, otherwise they wouldn't do that. So that's a big job, isn't it? Yeah. So pity is like, you know, pity also sometimes says, I am glad it didn't happen to me, or I'm glad I'm glad I'm not in the same situation. So then that again, you know, it's very difficult for something from its own side to be helpful or unhelpful. If you feel really bad about your situation, but then you see somebody having a more difficult situation, and it actually makes you feel better about your situation, I think it's okay to think like this. Yeah. But if you want to connect with that person, and then you go like, I am glad I'm not in this situation, then empathy is gone and it goes into sympathy, kind of. We understand, but we don't really want to get involved. It's quite difficult to speak about these things because, you know, with words, it's difficult to understand. You start to understand these things when you start to watch your mind and when you really start to see your motivation behind why you are doing something. Yeah. So we have to be careful when it's compassion, because pity can't bear to see that suffering. So at all cost, you know, either it's too distant or somehow the mitleid, you know, when you suffering with the other person, you need to change something, you need to help the person, but not for the person's sake, but for your sake, so that you feel better. And very often we do things out of a sense of duty because we have to, because it's family or friends or something like this. Also, change that feeling of duty, change it into joy. Oh, great, somebody needs help. It's such a joy to help. If you decide to help and it's not a sense of duty, it becomes joyful. Yeah. So do we have time for that little video? Maybe we have. So I would like to show you something which Leora sent to me last night. It doesn't open. There. Can you see it? So we watch it, okay? Okay, so we don't need to go that far, that if you would be on crutches, that you give your seat to somebody else. But, you know, we can start with these kind of things to on the train, on the bus, if you don't, even if you need to sit, but definitely if you don't need to sit, to give up your seat and not to fight for it. And this whole energy spreads quite quickly, even on Israeli trains, because I've seen it. So because I travel a lot on train. When I come, I prefer the train than to be driven by a car, because you know, I find it very interesting. Also, I meet people who are not Buddhists, so I need ordinary Israelis, which gives me a little bit more clear picture of society. And I enjoy very much, you know, I enjoy very much how maybe at the beginning there's aggression, but if you are not, if there are some people who are not contributing to the aggression, it dissolves very quickly. Yeah, people have very good conversations, and sometimes even they discuss, and but it's like it's very alive. The train ride, not like Switzerland. It's dead silent, and you know nobody talks to each other, and very polite, and like this. So like this. So what do you think about this video? You can put it in the chat. Maybe the crutches is a bit too much, isn't it? I mean, it's like, okay, but just too inspiring. Yeah, thank you. So we can do this. We can already now, without understanding emptiness and without being total bodhisattvas, giving up on small things. You know how I train is, I have to say, also in Israel, it's difficult. I train myself to be the last who goes on the bus or on the train and the last who comes out. So even that, you know, I feel it's hard. It's not easy. So forget about giving up seats is easy. So it's just training, yeah, and kind of this, because if I continue to read, yeah, it's like the opposite of wanting. The opposite is wanting others to suffer or cruelty. So what we can do with compassion is like not to add to the aggression in the world at the moment, you know, not to take sides very, very strongly when somebody else is there who has another side. Again, the 6 and the 9, you know, if somebody says this is 6, you don't have to kind of go into, no, but this is 9. And you know, why? Because you're not going to change their opinion the same way as they are not going to change your opinion or your views, especially when it comes down to politics and stuff like that. It's not much point. You just get into aggression and into fights and all these kinds of things. But now with compassion also is a result which one needs to avoid is sentimentality. Compassion thus refers to an unselfish, detached emotion which gives one a sense of urgency in wanting to help others in a realistic way. You know, we're not God, we're not the Buddha, not even the Dalai Lama can help everybody. So what about us? At one point, His Holiness was asked the question in one of a talk when he was giving to Westerners, and he said about low, you know, what the question was what to do about low self-esteem. So then he said, you know, he said, stop with this low self-esteem. What do you think? You are perfect? You know, you make mistakes. You cannot do anything. And then he said, if you look at it like this, God has failed, the Buddha has failed, Muhammad has failed, or Allah has failed, Guru Nanak has failed. All these beings have failed because all these beings want everybody to be happy. But look, they have failed. We are not happy. So what about you, you know? It's okay to try to help somebody, but ultimately they have to do it on their own, unless it's like giving money so that they can pay their bills or, you know, being generous. This you can do. Generosity you can always practice. This is okay. If the woman was not with crutches, what would her action be? Still very compassionate. You have a seat number and you let somebody else sit and you have to go for 5 hours. I think we can start with this, you know. So now if she has, I think if she has crutches, it shows that she is not taking her disability as something hindering to be compassionate. Because sometimes when people suffer, they think, oh, I cannot be of benefit to anybody else. And so we had the same question, I think, once in Kfar Monash when we did a course on death and dying. And we talked about assisted suicide, because the person said, well, then I'm not of use to anybody anymore when I'm so sick. But that's not true, you see. When you are sick, somebody can help you. Somebody can generate compassion for you. You can be a very inspiring person when you are sick and not depressed. When you are able to bear your sickness with an open heart. And we do some reflection on self-compassion in the meditation. Yeah, it's very important. What instead of, so that it doesn't become self-pity, and to learn to receive help. Yeah, this is also very good. Wow, this is something I also have to learn. You know, somebody wants to help you, you just say thank you. You think, great. People doesn't like to feel pity towards them because it stays for a short time and not real. Well, this, you know, when we say them feel like this, I don't know. I don't know what people really feel. I can only understand what I feel. You know, when I'm suffering, I like it when somebody wants to help me. I remember when I had the restaurant and I cut myself really badly, and I had to go to the hospital quickly to make some stitches. But then because it was Sunday and I didn't have anybody to work there, and I was alone, and then I came back with this and I started kind of, you know, pulling beer and serving people. And then somebody, a friend of mine, she just said, look, you go and lie down and I do it for you. I found this so, you know, it's so moving, it's so touching. When somebody just without asking, you know, can I help you, whatever. And I think Israelis are very good at this. When it's like this kind of, you need help with your body or somebody needs help. You're very good. So the feeling of pity, you don't have to say, oh, you poor thing or whatever. But it's very, usually I answer, no, I can manage. Yeah, right, exactly. And so I feel that having compassion towards someone who wrongs us is somewhat condescending. Yeah. Of course, if you feel like this, then don't do it. But you see, again, it's because we don't know, we don't understand what compassion is. If somebody harms you, then the cruelty would be, wow, I hope the same thing happens to you. If you have compassion for that person, you think, again, you know, compassion is a mind state. You don't have to say anything. If you have compassion for that person, you think, oh, wow, I hope this will never happen to you. May you not suffer from this the way I suffer now. And this for you is the healing. It's the healing of the pain when you can think like this. But as Tom says, I don't know if you read it, it can go into, wow, look at me. I have compassion for you. You know, you're so cruel and I am so compassionate. And then it goes into arrogance. So we can use all these very beautiful mind states in Leora, but because the Israelis are proud, it is difficult for them to accept help. Not so much, you know, like if it's helping, no, come on. I mean, we've been stranded at the roadside with a tire that was kind of burst. It took half a minute for somebody to stop to help us to change the tire. These kind of things, they're very good at accepting. Yeah. When they see that they really lost, because we wouldn't have known how to change the tire. So it's like, no, I'm always surprised how quickly people give help in Israel. Or I go to a supermarket and I'm looking for something. And because some of these things are only written on in Hebrew, I ask one person, it takes 10 minutes and then 5 people are looking for the thing in the supermarket, trying to help me. Sometimes a bit too much, because then they come and say, oh, I know you want this, but look, you know, this over there, this one product is much better than this one. You shouldn't buy this one. You know, then it goes into that kind of story, which I also find it's very connecting. It's very easy to connect to people in Israel, I find. It's maybe just my perception, I don't know, but this is what I see, and this is what I find. This is why I saw that Ronnie has joined us somewhere. This is why I like to go shopping, Ronnie, because then I can connect to people also. But yeah, Tom, you're right. It can go into condescending, but that would be a mistaken view of what compassion really is. Yeah. So what one needs to avoid also is sentimentality. So compassion thus refers to an unselfish, detached emotion, which gives someone a sense of urgency in wanting to help others. Detached, not so much because it's my daughter, my son, my this, my that, but we can start there, that's fine. From a Buddhist perspective, helping others to reduce their physical or mental suffering is very good, but the ultimate goal is to extinguish all suffering by stopping the process of rebirth and the suffering that automatically comes with living in the cycle of existence, living under the control of negative emotions. So direct compassion makes the heart quiver, wish for removal of suffering. The indirect is grief and emotionally overwhelmed. So when you feel this, because somebody yesterday, put that question, but if I feel compassion, then I suffer also. So if it goes into that, become active, do something. If it's not for that person that you want to help, do something for somebody else, because compassion is energy. It gives us energy. It wants to act. It wants to do something. And then when you don't do anything, then it goes into depression and you suffer yourself and you feel emotionally overwhelmed. Yeah. And then you want to look away. You don't want to look anymore. Compassion needs courage. Yeah. And it also needs the courage to say, okay, I wish I could help. At least that, I wish I could help, but I cannot. We can always pray for someone. Yes, exactly. This is what I'm going to get to. So we say, I wish I could help, but no, I am on this path to become a Buddha, and then I will be able to lead beings out of samsara. So we feel with our Buddhist practice of developing these beautiful mind states, of, as Leora says, of doing pujas for others, of dedicating our positive energy that we are creating for others. We feel that we are doing something, and then it doesn't go into depression and self-hate and all these kinds of things. But compassion hurts. Yeah. Who was it? Chogyam Trungpa says, compassion is the sore spot in your heart. You touch it, it hurts. But when you feel it in us, then we go, hey, what is the cause of this suffering? And then we start to look, wow, negative, unhelpful emotions. Can I do something about them? Yes, what? I can practice ethical conduct, not to harm. I can practice concentration. I can practice wisdom in order to get out of samsara and not to be under the control of negative emotions anymore. And then I can come back again and again and again and again to be of real benefit to others. Does that make sense? I know I went over 5 minutes again, but if you still have comments towards someone who is wrong, I can understand the reasoning of their actions are done out of delusion, but still it seems that I assume something about them that isn't necessary to. It's totally true, Tom. I'm sorry, I have to contradict you. Nobody wants to be bad. We are all standing under the control of wrong views and negative and unhelpful emotions. How many of you here really enjoy to hurt others? We imply that others do that. But how many of you are still happy about having done negative actions? But because nobody, see? Everybody wants to be a good person, but sometimes we're so deluded that we are kind of, that wish to be a good person comes out in very, very unhelpful ways. Now, this is the view of Buddhism. And now you have to see whether if you adapt that view, that everybody wants to be a good person, whether that helps you to deal with other people, especially difficult people, or whether it makes it even more difficult to deal with them. You see, Buddhism gives us so many tools. If we don't use them in daily life, we will never find out whether this works or not. And then we start to have intellectual ideas what these things do to us, or what they mean. And then we don't have the experience. We need to make the experience. So you can make the experience with yourself by seeing when I lie to somebody, when I'm not respecting somebody, because that's the things we do, isn't it? We're not going around killing and hitting and raping and all these kinds of things. But with our words, sometimes we hurt people, or we have aversion towards people, and then we go like this. Then check when the mind is calm again. Do you feel happy about this action, or do you feel sad about this negative or unhelpful action? You know, you have to check. We should, I don't know, I shouldn't say we should, but I think it's not helpful to think that we know what other people feel or what their intention is or why they are doing things. Because we don't know. We don't know. But then check if it would be helpful for you just to think they just want to be happy. They just don't want to suffer. If that would feel helpful for you to hurt less, for you to be less angry. Yeah. And then to see, you know, we talked about this in length on Yom Kippur. Why are we afraid to forgive? There's many, many reasons why we don't want to forgive, but we can't go into that again. You know, if you want to know, then you need to look you need to look at maybe the recordings of Yom Kippur. Yeah. And for you also, you know, not so much the other. Why doesn't this other person forgive me? You look when you can't forgive. You know, forgiving means, if you have forgiven, it means somebody comes and says, I've seen this and this person the other day, and they are really happy. And you are happy when you hear that they are happy, then you have forgiven. If you're not happy when you hear that they are happy, then you have not forgiven. You know, that's a clear sign of having really let go and forgiven. Or if you can generate in your heart the genuine wish, may they be happy, may they be well, may they be free from suffering. And the whole sensations go with this, then also you have forgiven. So like this. But when we think, you know, when we think they do it on purpose, then we will not forgive. Yeah, when we think they plan to be bad people. Maybe they plan to be bad people, but behind this is the wish to be happy. Always. And some people are very unskillful. Again, please, maybe I should just put it, I don't know where I should put it, behind me so that you can see it. Compassion doesn't mean that you don't protect yourself when somebody is out to harm you. And protecting yourself would mean if somebody puts your house underwater and you know who it is, you call the police and tell them who it was. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with the feeling, maybe then they understand that this is not a good thing to do. Out of a feeling wanting to protect themselves from doing it again, because it has happened to other people in the area. So there must be somebody who, you know, there are people who put houses on fire because they like to see the fire people coming and the sirens and all this. They're mentally disturbed. And so it could be the same thing. Somebody is mentally disturbed and likes to see the police and, you know, a lot of action. And I don't know why somebody does that. But definitely getting angry at people is not helpful. But not getting angry doesn't mean that you don't stop them, if you can. Is that clear? I need a nod from everybody. You know, you don't allow people to walk over you. But if they do, yeah, thank you, Tom. But if they do walk over you, you know, then you apply all these reasonings why it's useless to get angry at them. Clear, thank you. Because then you don't suffer. You see, because then we go into Shantideva's explanation why anger is not helpful. Anger is never helpful because it makes the mind going crazy also. Oh, there would be, we could discuss a lot on this, but now we need to make a break. So we're making a break until 11:30. Is that okay? If you have questions, I know that Gidi needs to close the thing, isn't it? So you close it and then you open it again. And then if you have questions or comments, it's good if I know your views also, not just questions, also your views. Also, if you're not happy with what I'm saying, that's okay. You can put in the chat. So you put it in the chat and then maybe I'll come, I read them in the break and then I'll see what we can do. And then we try to do a reflection on compassion, to have an experience of how compassion feels. Okay? Okay, so now it's the break. So Gidi, you can close if you need to, and then we start again. Thank you. Have a good break.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Gidi is not closing.